with its face.
Want to be the ultimate thunder god? Have the ability to blow up your enemies with a devastating attacks and insanely powerful cleaves using the most destructive thunder build that you'll ever need for Baldur's Gate 3. This build has been a long time coming because I've been waiting for patch 8 to finally release to make this build possible. This is because of a really powerful weapon that is compatible for one of the brand new subclasses that can literally cast the Shatter spell for us when we do our melee attacks. This build is so destructive, everything around you just turns into objects to further spread that chaos that you're about to unleash. I've wanted to make a build that deals so much thunder damage, it just makes it unfair to fight against. A drunken monster that loves to spread reverberating charges to blow up and prone its targets. Reverberating is a debuff that reduces strength, dexterity, and constitution saving throws of your targets by 1 per remaining turn. Once you get 5 or more stacks of this debuff, your enemies will blow up and take 1 to 4 thunder damage and get a chance to fall prone for 2 turns. This debuff is one of the nastiest ones to spread just because of its ability to prone your targets. Everyone knows a good enemy is a dead enemy, especially if they're just lying there waiting to get hit. The build loves fighting hordes of enemies just to turn them into objects to blow up in a spectacular thunderous explosion. This is all thanks to the new subclass that is released for the final patch, where our thunder monster can finally be brought to life by taking advantage of the Drunken Master Monk as its base. We'll be utilizing the Drunken Master's innate ability to be immune of negative effects of the drunk status. Drunk is a condition that provides disadvantage to dexterity and charisma checks when we consume alcohol from our camp supplies. With the help of the cheeky tipple passive of the Drunken Master, this will make us immune from those effects. We'll then take advantage of the condition using a really cool item that I'll be mentioning in a second. We can also force our enemies to get drunk using our new intoxicating strikes from our Drunken Master class. To turn this build into a thunderous monster, we're gonna scale our weapon attacks with charisma instead of strength and dexterity using the Hexblade Warlock's Bind Hex weapon. The Hexblade is one of the best subclass in providing really good utility and damage with the help of the Hexblade Curse that reduces the rolls that we need to land a critical hit by 1. Plus, it also heals us when the Hex target dies. We'll also be using the power of the Booming Blade to add more thunder damage to our attacks, which is also perfectly thematic to our build. Now to push the build into the broken tier, we're gonna include one of my favorite subclasses, which is the Battle Master Fighter. This monster of a subclass by itself is already very powerful without delving into multiclassing and can turn any class combined with it into a god. Using the very powerful maneuvers such as multiple attack capabilities of the action surge and extra attack, this build will be utilizing the power of the sweeping attacks from the maneuvers of the Battle Master that can let us hit multiple targets in a single swipe. Emphasizing on the word multiple here because the sweeping attack of the Battle Master is even more powerful than the Tiger's Bloodlust from the Barbarian, which can only hit 3 targets in a single swipe. This bad boy can hit 4 to 5 or even 6 targets if you position yourself properly, which makes this ability absolutely insane. Pair this up with the best weapon for the Drunken Master, which is the Punk Drunk Bastard. Your enemies are in for a world of pain. This two-handed great club can spread thunder explosions in a 3-meter area, dealing 1 to 4 thunder damage using the Tippler's Rage, so long as the wielder is in the drunk status. What makes this weapon so busted is that it's not only limited to 1 target per hit. It actually works with all enemies hit by this weapon, meaning once you use your sweep attack and hit any targets along the way, they will also get thunder damage, which also does their own explosion in a 3-meter area. You can just imagine 4 to 5 enemies close together being hit by this wonderful weapon. They'll just explode in a thunderous fashion. The Thunder Explosion doesn't just work on living creatures, inanimate objects also spread the explosion as well, making everything around you a thunder bomb, which is crazy. To add even more damage to the Thunder Explosion, we're gonna use the Callous Glow Ring to add 2 radiant damage to eliminated targets, which also includes the Thunder Explosions. We're gonna take advantage of the power of Thunder even more by combining the drunk and prone conditions that we can dish out. We're also gonna be stacking reverberating charges as quickly as possible using the Gloves of Belligerent Skies. Whenever we deal Thunder, Lightning, and Radiant damage, we inflict 2 reverberating charges to our targets. We already deal thunder and radiant damage using our weapon and ring. Lightning damage can easily be included using an elemental thunder buff. So this means that in one hit, we can easily stack 5 charges without any worries. As I mentioned earlier, once you exceed 5 charges, there will be a reverberating explosion that deals thunder damage plus the prone condition that can also trigger another set of reverberating charges using the Boots of Stormy Clamor. When we deal hostile condition to a target, we can also inflict 2 reverberating stacks, which will also work for the drunk condition that is inflicted by our monk abilities. The cascading effect of reverberating and thunder damage is what makes this build insanely powerful, making it one of the most explosive thunder gods that you can ever make in the game. I've already mentioned some of the gear, so we're just gonna include all of the items to make this monster. Starting with the Hell Dusk Helmet for the Infernal Sight passive, giving us Devil Sight for free. It also includes magical durability, which is a +2 to our spell saving throw, and enemies can't land a crit on us. Cloak of Protection for +1 on AC and saving throw. Armor of Agility for dexterity scaling of our AC. Gloves of Belligerent Skies, as I mentioned earlier, for Thunderous Conversion. Boots of Stormy Clamor for an additional 2 more stacks when we use hostile conditions that we can also spread using our monk abilities. Amulet of Greater Health for max Constitution for HP. Callous Glow Ring for that additional 2 radiant damage. Ring of Protection for a +2 to our AC and saving throw. And finally, Punch Drunk Bastard for our main weapon. With all those items together, your build will most likely look like this. This thunderous raid boss is ready to bring the pain and destruction to everything in its way. Now, let's get into how we actually create this beast. For character creation, we're gonna start off with the races. For the races, you can get any race that you prefer for as long as you enjoy playing that race. But if you're someone who wants to min-max everything, there are 2 races that are really good for the build, starting with the Dwarf and the Half-Orc. For the Dwarf, we have some really nice race features such as the Dark Vision up to 12 meters and Dwarven Combat Training that will give us proficiency in battle axes, hand axes, hammers, and war hammers. For the sub-races, we'll be going with the Ghoul Dwarf if you're someone who wants to be really tanky. Our maximum HP increases by 1 and eventually increases every time we level up. Now for the second one, we'll go with the Half-Orc if we're someone who wants to hit hard as possible. This is because of the race feature, the Savage Attack. When we land a critical hit with a melee attack, we deal an additional dice of weapon damage. For the classes, we'll start off with the Warlock. We'll have access to the Bind and Hex weapon that will scale our weapons with Charisma instead of Strength and Dexterity, and the Hexblade Curse that will reduce the amount of critical hits that we need by 1. For the spells, we'll get Shield. This is really useful. It will increase our AC by 5. Cantrips is the really important Booming Blade. This will deal 1 to 8 thunder damage and have the Booming Blade effect by 1 turn. Abilities will most likely look like this. We'll be prioritizing Charisma, Dexterity, Constitution, and Wisdom for the final stat. Charisma is very important because we will be scaling our weapons with Charisma, especially on our early levels. Dexterity will be next. This will scale our AC. Constitution is quite important because of the stamina and physical endurance, but once we get the Amulet of Greater Health, we can respec and reallocate the Constitution points to Wisdom to increase the chances of our monk abilities. For the progression, starting at level 2, we'll be moving into our first multi-class of the build with the Monk. The Monk is our bread and butter class that will provide some other really nice class features such as the key points and some other unarmed attacks that we can use, especially on our early levels. Level 3 of our character and level 2 of our monk, we have access to another set of actions such as the Patient Defense, Step of the Wind Dash, and Step of the Wind Disengage. Level 3 of the monk, we will now specialize on our second multi-class of the build, That will be the way of the Drunken Master. This is the brand new class that is introduced in patch 8 that will provide some really nice subclass features such as the cheeky tipple. We also have access to the Drunken technique. This is the Drunken Master's version of the Fury of Blows. We can punch our enemies twice in quick succession, and we also can disengage for free. Level 4 of the Monk will just stay with this class because of the subclass feature of the Life of the Party. Every time we intoxicate our enemies using the Intoxicating Strike, this will increase our AC by 1 as well as our attack rolls against our drunk targets. We also have access to our very first feat, and we will take the Great Weapon Mastery. At level 6 of our character, we will now start in multi-class to our final class of the build, which is the Fighter. We will be focusing on this class majority of our levels in order to make this build really overpowered. The fighting style that we'll get is the Great Weapon Fighting. Level 7 of our character, focusing on the Fighter, we now have access to the Action Surge. This will let us do an immediate extra action in the use of that turn. Level 3 of the Fighter, we now have access to our final multi-class of the build, which will be the Battle Master. The Battle Master is one of my favorite subclasses ever just because of the sheer usefulness of its maneuvers, which will let us spread those thunder damage so much to our enemies. Using the sweep attack that will let us attack multiple targets. We can also get trip attack. This will prone our targets when hit. And disarming attack to disarm our enemies so that they're holding any weapons. Focusing on our character, which will be level 9, level 4 of our fighter, we now have access to our feat and we'll just spec into ability improvement. We will be increasing our charisma for this level. At level 10 of our character, still focusing on our fighter, we now have our extra attack. This will let us deal an additional attack following up our main attack. Level 6 of the fighter, level 11 of our character, we now have access to our final feat of the build. We will just get another ability improvement and take dexterity, pushing it up to 18. If you guys have the hair for anti-ethel, you can dump it to charisma and this will make it to 20. For the purpose of this build, we will just let it sit on 19. Finally, level 12 and level 7 of our fighter, we now have access to our final subclass feature, which is the superiority die. We will have a more efficient maneuvers and we can gain our superiority dice every short rest. For the maneuvers, you can get any maneuvers that you like. I'll just go with menacing attack. This can frighten your enemies when hit, as well as the pushing attack that can push your targets by 4.5 meters. Now here we are in our live combat simulation in order for me to show you guys how to effectively use the build and how to make this Thunder God really powerful and obliterate your opponents in just a matter of turns. So for starters, we're gonna go with the setup. So as usual, I just go with the Drake Throat Glaive and buff up my weapon to any elemental effect that we need for this build. For this build is quite specific because we need specifically the lightning elemental weapon in order for us to trigger those insane thunder debuffs later on our fights. If you have a character that has the cantrip light, you can just easily light up that weapon that we'll be using as our main hand in order for us to get all of the benefits of our rings that will deal radiant damage whenever they are hit in illuminated areas. After that, don't forget to bind your weapon to charisma. Using the bind hex weapon, we will now be scaling our damage to charisma instead of strength and dexterity. Soon after that is we'll be using some really nice items such as the Elixir Bloodlust. This will give us 5 temporary hit points and additional actions whenever we kill our foes. We'll just be using this. And after that is use any wine that we have in our camp supply. So in my case, I'll just use the common table wine. And we now have the Drunken debuff. Use the Serpent Fang Toxin for additional poison damage. Now we are practically ready to fight using our build. Now we're going to start off the battle with this build and we're going to open up with Intoxicating Strike so that we have a chance to put the Drunken status on the boss. We'll just use this. Use Opportunity Attack. We got Reverberating Strike right there. Okay, just let them get close to us a little bit. And reverberating, you see that? We just got a reverberating strike right there. And 5 stacks happened. It exploded and turned the boss to prone status for 2 turns. So now we can open up with another attack. I'll just try to eliminate this boss as quickly as possible. Now another explosion. You see that? Really nice explosion right there. And finally finishing up if we can. So we'll just try to this one. Now this is a really nice position for us because the enemies are really tight in positioning. So yeah, we also got a reverberation strike again because of the stacks. And we'll just cleave them down later. So now it's our turn to strike. So we'll open up with a sweeping strike right here. So this is going to be really fun because most likely it's going to be bouncing off other objects to spread the thunder debuff some more. So we'll just attack the enemies right there, and including that table. See? All of the enemies around us just got hit. Even if we didn't hit them with the sweeping attack, that is how powerful that attack did. And one of the targets just got prone because of the explosion with thunder damage. After that is we can maybe eliminate the boss, or just following up again with another set of sweeping attack. And the boss is dead. We now have the chance to use our great weapon attack right here. So we'll just use it. And the enemy just got hit. Following up with another sweeping attack, maybe like that. So we can hit everyone in this front right there. Like that, maybe. Alright, one of them just died once again. And we can actually eliminate one of those enemies here. Now he's dead. 2 enemies remaining in that same turn. So now we can just use maybe shield. Prevent it from attacking us. And we can actually use our Drunken technique here just to show you guys that we can also stack reverberating charges to the enemies. See that? We just got 4 stacks right there. We'll let the enemies run towards us. Again, replenish the amount of enemies that's going to be cleaved down. Just really fun. So after that is we'll just use another sweeping attack. We now have like 3 targets right there. It's going to be really fun. And it exploded. So if you noticed, we just got a miss, but we triggered the tenacity ability of our bludgeoning weapon, so we can still deal additional thunder damage even though we missed our target. So we now can use our great weapon bonus to attack our targets right there. So we got a miss. Maybe use the boom for this turn. And she did. After that is move to position right here. Use another sweeping attack. And we got a hit. Following up with the boom for the sake of it. And one of them just died. And that's it, guys. That's it for the build. What do you guys think? And would love to know what are your thoughts in the comments below. Shout out to all the people who subscribe and keep supporting the channel. I really appreciate you guys for all the main support. And for all the people who haven't subscribed yet, thank you for watching my videos. And I hope I earn your subscriptions in the future. But if you're new today, please don't hesitate to hit that subscribe button. If you guys love build crafting, modding, and interacting with the most wonderful people in the community, we actually have a Discord and would love to see you there. Or if you're just someone who just loves RPG news, builds, and mods, keep it here in this channel. Finally, that's it from me. Up to you soon. The next Master Box Show. So, bye guys.